Good afternoon. I want to talk a little bit about my setup for my transducer on my Livescope. I hear a lot of people, friends and guys that I run into out on the lake, that complain about seeing their jig and then it just disappears when it's dropping down into the water column. A lot of people are still using the mount that comes with the Livescope that mounts to the trolling motor that has an offset. I think it's an 8-degree offset. I may be wrong about the exact degrees, but I think it's 8-degree offset, which means that transducer is mounted to the trolling motor and is cocked a little bit and looking at an angle. So when you deploy your trolling motor and your transducer has an angle to it, that beam is actually shooting slightly either right or left at an angle to a straight downward, I guess perpendicular to the water surface that you desire. So what I did, I'm not advocating any particular brand, but I bought a Summit, which is a cheaper 3D printed version of a mount, and what it does, it allows me to set infinite angles on this transducer. So what I've done is I set the transducer at a 90-degree angle to the front of my trolling motor, and it allows me to see over or past the barrel of the trolling motor and keep a straight down shot. So when I'm looking down at the water, I'm looking straight down, so when I drop my jig down, it never leaves the beam, if that makes sense. So I think that helps a little bit. A lot of people are already doing stuff like this and mounting it on transducer poles. I still like the trolling motor. I still like being able to kind of move around and look and not tie up another hand or foot. Maybe I'll change one day, but that's what I do for now. But anyway, hopefully this helps a little bit in explaining how I see my jig from the surface all the way down to 20 foot and never really lose sight of it. So, all right, sometimes you have the need to go from forward mode, crappie fishing, to say perspective mode. I've been able to find brim beds quicker, been able to see bass in shallow water, flooded timber, see them cruising. So sometimes I have the need to go to perspective mode, and that's what I'll show you how I'm doing it here. I don't usually keep this thing set very loose. I snug it down. So in order to make the move to go to perspective, I'll loosen this top nut. Basically allows it to swivel, and then loosen the thumb screw so I can flip it that way. So now it's kind of going every direction. And then I can loosen this transducer bolt. And in order to go to perspective very easily, I can a couple of clicks and tighten them bolts down. That's what my perspective looks like. And that was just, I can do that on the water. It's not a big deal. The important thing about perspective is this middle beam has to be perpendicular to the direction that the trolling motor is going. So you want this, your trolling motor is laying up on the deck, the middle beam or the middle transducer face has to be completely up and down, perfectly up and down. And this one is looking a little bit to the left, and this one is looking a little bit to the right. So that's how you know when you're set up correctly. And the other thing, when you're in perspective mode, is you can actually kick this thing up, which is not possible with the fixed mount that comes with the Livescope system. This thing here, you can actually turn it down to look for deeper structure or fish. I like to run it almost parallel to the water surface. I can actually see a topwater bait when I throw it out there. I can see it land and see the ripples, and I can also see fish 3 to 4 feet under the water because these beams that are coming out of the transducer actually start narrow and get a little wider. They lose resolution the further out you get, but you can still see what's going on. So I like to run that thing about like that in perspective. But I'm going to put it back in forward because I'm going to crappie fish tomorrow. Hopefully that helps you, you know, with a few things you may have been thinking about as far as transducer mounts for the Livescope. I think there's a lot of them on the market. You know, there's no completely right or wrong answer. It's just whatever works for you, and this is what works for me. I'm sure there's probably something better, but I have about as much fun as I can stand anyway. So thanks for watching.